Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking in with us today and joining us for this interview with Jessica Wise. So, Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. You're doing so many great things in the motorcycle community, especially for women. You started the Litas, you started Hell Babes. So let's introduce you some more. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Where are you from? What are you doing? And let's take it from there.
Yeah, I'm living in Salt Lake City right now. I'm from Washington State. I've been here for about 13 years, so quite a while. And I started Litas, I guess, from just really wanting to find my own community of women riders. And I love motorcycles. I've been in this world for a while, but I'm especially passionate about getting more women into riding. For me, I feel like what riding community brought into my life really changed it forever. And so, I want to be able to help other women maybe looking for something like that find it and be able to get into it. There's also a lot of barriers getting into riding. And so I feel like, by making community really accessible and making some of the things that are hard when you first start riding easy, or at least, having that community to reach out to and ask questions is really important. And so that's really what I focus on with my work.
Okay, that's really great to hear. And you mentioned, obviously motorcycles are your passion. You're doing everything for the love of motorcycles. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in motorcycles. Did it start with your family being a part of it, or a friend got you into it? Let us know how that all started.
Yeah, I was going to the University of Utah and I was like sitting there waiting for the dorm bus to come pick me up and take me back up to the dorms. And I saw a girl ride by on a motorcycle. And I think that was the first time I'd ever seen a woman riding a motorcycle. She, was younger like me. She had this really cute like leather backpack on. And I think it just made an impression. I actually went to Urban Outfitters and found like the exact same backpack and got it and wore it for like all of my college. But so that was probably, I guess 6 months prior to flash forward. I was in Montana, driving with my family. We have a cabin there, and I saw a bunch of motorcycles ride by, and I was like, I think I want to get a motorcycle. And my family was like, oh yeah, like you want to get a hog, just kind of like, yeah, right. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I think I want to do it. And there's nothing that motivates me more than people thinking I can't do something. And so I think that fueled my fire a little bit. I was definitely like the stubborn little girl who had to like pour my own milk and stuff. And so after that happened, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And so I went out and found a Honda Rebel 250, and it was 1985. It was like total piece of crap, like painted bright yellow. And I got my first bike.
Okay, great. So you started on a Honda Rebel, and then how long were you riding before the Litas started?
It's a great question that I don't know the answer to. So I got that bike when I was probably 18, maybe 19, and I started the Litas when I was 24. So
Okay.
I had been riding for quite a while.
Okay, so during that time, so you were riding for quite a while and you wanted to start the Litas. So talk to me a little bit more about the genesis of it. So how it started. I know you said you wanted to create a community, so that's the why it started. But the actual genesis of it all. Talk to me about that.
So really where it started was I was dating a guy that I was like totally head over heels in love with, and he broke up with me, and I was super brokenhearted. It was Thanksgiving break. I was hanging out at my parents' house for a couple weeks, and I saw a post on Instagram of a bunch of women riding together. It was probably like 15 women, some downtown area. I can't remember what women's group it was, but I was like, that looks really cool. Like, I think I need that in my life. And I think I also just needed something to like throw myself into. But college can be kind of lonely. Like I didn't have a ton of friends at college. It's kind of like weird to make friends. I had some friends outside of my school, and some roommates that I was friends with, but I guess I was like wanting more connection and
Mhm.
more of that. And so I think that just sparked the idea like I want to start a women's writing group. And I think because of the place I was at in my life with the heartbreak and just like, you know, things were kind of hard, I I especially needed it,
Mhm.
right? And so I was kind of, I guess, in a sense creating what I hope to create for women around the world, but really I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as like I needed it. And so I kind of started on that path of creating it.
Okay, I love that. It's almost like the phoenix dying the ashes and then, or sorry, dying and then the phoenix rises from the ashes. And honestly, that's one of the best ways to go about heartbreaks, doing something that you love and then look where it's turned into. So it's like, thank you, Guy, for breaking up with me because look where I am now.
No, really. And also the funny thing is he's now my husband.
Oh,
So it like came full circle. It was not until years later though.
okay.
Um, but yeah, so kind of funny because now I tell that story and I'm like, sorry, babe, it's my truth, that's what happened.
Serious. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess you got to thank him. You really got to thank him for this. So thank you for breaking up with me because I'm just living out my most authentic life.
Yeah, pretty
That's
funny.
funny. Okay, so this is now a global success, the Litas, and it all started because you wanted to find a connection. You wanted to find people who are on the same level with you, who has an alignment with you. So why do you think this has been such a global success in such a short time? And how has it just exploded? So talk to me about why you think that happened and how it happened.
Um, I think there's a lot of factors, honestly. I feel like the success of anything is really a combination of like the right timing, opportunity, and then like ambition to like figure it out and get it done. So one thing was happening at that time where social media was really big, and I feel like you were starting to see women writers. And so, when you see something, then you believe you can do it, or like it occurs to you, okay, like that's an option for me. And so, just like with me back, at the University of Utah, sitting there in President's Circle and then seeing this writer go through, it's like that was happening on social media. And so, all of these women were like, like I could go do that. And so there was a huge influx of women writers. And then at the same time, I think there was a lot of women who were the exact same place that I was of like looking for connection and community and a place to belong and friends and like just wanted that same thing, wanted to feel included and just be part of something. I mean, just as like a human, all of that stuff is really important.
Mhm.
And so I think those two things kind of came together in order for it to work. And then I guess, I just so happened to create something that people vibed with. um, just it not having any really requirements to join and being really open and inclusive and something that really was just there to be positive and like have a good time.
Okay. Yeah, I obviously it's a success and people are aligning with that. And like you were saying, and I had brought up, this is just a global success. It's everywhere. So if someone wants to start a chapter, what's the process on that, on how they can do that?
So usually it's three writers come together and they submit through the Lita's website to start a branch. Um, and then, we get to know them a little bit and kind of onboard them. And then once we get them up on their website, then they can like start accepting members. I mean, really, I say that loosely because we are like an open writing group. But then writers can go in and like submit their info. So now they'll get the branch communication about rides and events and stuff like that.
Okay, so you made it pretty seamless and easy for people to be a part of this.
Yeah.
That's great. So you have been doing this for a little while then, and these branches are everywhere globally. So what's something about the motorcycle community that you really love and that you really don't like? Because I'm sure you've seen it all. So talk to me about that.
Um, One thing that I love is I feel like because of the Litas, there's so much inclusivity. Like a lot of times it's hard to not, approach other people and be competitive. Like
Right.
it's just kind of like in our nature almost.
And especially
But I
females
feel like,
too.
yeah, and I feel like with the Litas, it almost gives us like, here's our excuse to like not have it be like that.
Mhm.
Like, no, the expectation is that like you're talking to everybody here and you're like welcoming them with open arms. And it's just like you go see another women writer and you're gonna go up to them and be like, "Hey, have you heard about the Litas? Like, come hang out with us."
Mhm.
And so I feel like that has translated really well. And I mean, I just think that's the best thing ever. So that's one of my favorite things is how I feel like all of Toledo's community is like so inclusive um, as writers.
Of course.
And something I don't like.
That might be a hard one.
uh, Honestly, I feel like I can't think of anything. Um, I feel like to get where I've to get where I am now, I really have had to keep a very like positive, optimistic mindset because there are so many roadblocks. And so I feel like I try to not look at the negative. It doesn't mean that negative isn't there. It just means like I'm trying to make it, something that I'm not really paying attention to just because I feel like that never really leads down a good road. Um, so I can't think of anything off the top of my head. And I feel like I probably shouldn't try that hard to think of something.
No, and I think that's a really good thing that nothing can come to mind because it is such a positive, inclusive group that you've created. And with that, there shouldn't be any negative. I feel like the only negative aspect of it should be these people live too far away. I can't see them often enough. And we just vibe so
Yeah.
well. We have so many things in common.
Yeah. How long my app development is taking.
Oh, right.
That's
Yes.
been hard.
Talk to us about that. So I signed up for that last night because I was curious about how it all worked. So let's talk about that app. That's a really great idea.
Yeah. During COVID, I think it was just really clear that like we needed other ways to connect. And I'd always known that we needed a Leaders app to be able to connect with the global community. And it was just something that finally, because of COVID, I was like, okay, it has to be now. And so I started going down that road and ended up building an app collective. It's probably 30% of what is designed.
Yeah.
And so it has moved pretty slow, but it's definitely going to go to a place that's going to be really cool and allow this global, female moto community to connect, which I feel like will help lower even more barriers.
Okay, so talk to me about what you have in sight for this app because I know you really want to encourage more women to ride and you like to kind of give people advice so they're not so scared to really enter the motorcycle world. So do you have any courses that are going to maybe be on this app to teach people? So what do you have in mind?
So the big thing right now, it's really set up as more of like a forum
Mhm.
to be able to just talk to people and connect either by city, like locally, or by topic. So like dirt biking or, custom builds or stuff like that. And then the next phase is going to be uh, planning and coordinating rides.
Okay.
So like just really stuff that like you can go and participate in physically. So taking that like online friendship or connection and then going out and meeting up with these other riders who are either part of the local leaders with you or you just met through the app.
Okay.
You could also do that like while you're traveling. So you set your route. Let's say I'm in Denver, I could go and message the whole Denver Litas and be like, "Hey, I'm in town. Like, who wants to go grab dinner?" So just really that like taking the online friendships and turning them into like real in life or in person experiences and
Okay.
adventures. So that's going to be a huge part of it, and that'll be rides and events. And then I think the next phase would be like new writer course type content, but that's a little ways down the road.
And I feel like that's a really good option for people to get more involved. And which leads me to my next question. So you guys really like to cater to new riders, and I've seen on your social media you give tips and tricks for new riders. So I want to know, what was the best advice you ever got when you became a rider? Because you did it all on your own. You didn't have any family to teach you. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot you learn the hard way. Um, some of the best advice I ever got. One thing would be like if you ever hop on a motorcycle that's not yours to
Mhm.
ride it, don't think that you can just ride it. Like approach it slowly and feel it out and like get a feel for it. Uh, I think that's just really important in order to stay safe. And then another one is always riding within your comfort level and
Mm.
your skill level. Um, I feel like as soon as you push those boundaries, let's say you're trying to keep up with someone who's way faster than you or way more skilled, or you're doing something where you're like, I shouldn't be doing this because this I'm really not comfortable at this level yet. Like ride your own ride and make sure that you're not doing that because that's exactly where mistakes end up happening. And that's exactly where I've seen accidents that could have been avoided. So I
Yeah,
think that's
that's
huge.
a good one. Very good one. And I like the first one that you brought up. If you're using someone else's bike, ride it respectfully. And yeah, that's a great one for sure. So out of curiosity, because you literally started on your own, this was your own ambition to get into the motorcycle world. Has your parents taken any interest in starting up riding?
My mom did take the rider's course,
Okay.
which she loved, and she actually rides horses, so I think she's gonna stick to that, but she had a ton of fun taking the rider's course. Um, and my dad so her and my dad actually had a motorcycle when they were first married, and they
Okay.
shared it. So when I got a bike, my mom, she was like, "Oh, are you sure you wanna get a motorcycle?" Just like, nervous for my safety, classic mom. And then she was like, "Actually, I had a motorcycle, like, me and your dad had a motorcycle, and I rode it, and I loved it." And I'm like, "Oh, the truth comes out." So my dad has ridden, he grew up riding dirt bikes in Montana, and he's ridden for different parts of his life. So sometimes he'll hop on my bike and take it out.
Okay.
But,
So kind of always in you then.
yeah, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Really, motorcycles were, like, never, uh, never talked about or really in my life at all until I got one. I think the only time I had ridden on one, my brother, like, randomly bought one, when I was in high school,
Okay.
and it was at our house for, like, a week until he brought it to college, but he, like, took me on the back of it, and, yeah, I think that's the only time I was ever on a motorcycle.
Well, look where it's taken you now. So that's great. Okay, so let's talk about Hell Babes. So was this something that kind of ricocheted from the development of the Litas and it kind of came afterwards, or was this always in the works?
So, I had actually started this, like, little vintage resale clothing shop before I started the Litas. It's called Gold Dust Clothing, and I was getting, like, vintage Harley tees and stuff and, like, reselling them. Um, so I think I always had like an interest in that area, but it really stemmed from after I started the Litas, I had women being like, "We want to wear stuff that says the Litas," and I was like, "Oh, right. So do I. Okay, I guess I should figure that out." But for me, it was important that the Litas wasn't about selling merchandise; it was about community, and so I really wanted to like separate that, so that way the conversation wouldn't always be, like both.
Right.
And so I completely separated it out. And then as I did it, um, I guess I also started to see it as a way to empower women who aren't interested in riding motorcycles, just somebody who wants to wear lovely as fuck tee and feel like, it vibes with them. And so it kind of turned into its own thing.
Okay.
I feel like it also allowed me to like express myself creatively through clothing and design, and that's been really fun. I love that part of it. But yeah.
So yeah, so you always had, like you said, you always had an interest in that sort of, vintage clothing and just that style of clothing. So I guess to me, I take that as you've always had a vision to some degree, and it's just kind of manifested into this. And I want to ask you then, so where do you want to take Litas and Hell Babes, and where do you see it in the next 5 years going?
I really see Hell Babes as a way to get women excited about the possibility of riding. And I'm just starting to see it that way. We do the motorcycle giveaways between Hell Babes and Litas. And that's kind of like the perfect collab, campaign to do. But, it's fun to give a motorcycle away. But the really cool thing about that is like all the women who want to win the bike, who eventually end up going to buy their own bike because they're like, screw this, I'm just going to go get one. Like that is so fun. And so continuing to do that. And I really want to get more women into riding. Um, so I guess not 100% sure how I'm going to do that yet. Still working on that. But yeah, I think just continue to grow. And, we just released a leather jacket through Hell Babes, which is really cool. So do more moto specific stuff like that. And just continue to get women excited about riding, really.
Awesome. I love that. I love the ethos of it all, and it's obviously working for you. So we always ask this because we're Russ Brown motorcycle attorneys. Have you ever gotten into a motorcycle accident? And if so, what did you learn?
I have not actually.
Let's knock on
I
wood.
did. I did draw. I've like dropped my bike a few times.
Okay.
One time, like stopping in gravel, and then many times when I was already stopped, like in gravel and on dirt and stuff. But yeah, I haven't.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, like I said, I knocked on
Knock
wood
on
for you.
wood somewhere. Yeah, thanks.
So if people want to join the Litas, let us know how we can do that.
You can download Collective, the Litas mobile app. It's in the Google Play Store and the App Store. Just look up Collective by the Litas. And then also go to our website, thelitas.co, and go and find your city and join.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica, for sitting with me. I always say sitting, but this is Zoom. Thank you for connecting with me.
We are sitting.
We're sitting. We'll just pretend this is in person. I appreciate your time today. And also, I really appreciate what you're doing for the motorcycle community. I've been a rider for most of my life because I started in dirt bike racing, and now I'm riding on the street. So I really, really, really appreciate what you're doing. And it's so inspiring, and keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
All right, so we will catch you next time. Take care.
Okay, see ya.